18 minutes past 6. Now,
if it was, we've got some good advice by our side, haven't we? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Just a tip, yeah.
Troubleshooter Phil Hall is here.
We're talking... Spike that story right now. Yeah.
We're talking about the former X Factor judge, Tulisa, of course, punched the air yesterday with relief after her trial for supplying cocaine dramatically collapsed.
Yes, on the steps of the court, she thanked her fans for their amazing message of support, describing the last year of her life as absolutely ruined.
Let me be perfectly clear. I have never dealt drugs and never been involved in taking or dealing cocaine. This case only happened because the Sun on Sunday, Mahmood and his team tricked me into believing I was auditioning for a major movie role. They targeted me at a time when things were going badly for me and they had no mercy. I am now looking forward to resuming my career. I will use these experiences to make me stronger.
Well, that's an interesting point. Public relations expert Phil Hall, former newspaper journalist, of course, as well, joins us. Very good morning to you. Can she come out of this stronger?
Yes, she can. I mean, I think the great advantage that people like her have is they have a talent. She was a very successful songwriter, very successful artist, very successful on X Factor, and that talent can override some of the problems. You look at people like Robbie Williams or John Terry, you know, the key is to go back and do what you're very good at. You know, play football, make music. Don't get out there and sort of courting the media and trying to spin and turn some sort of image, turn an image around you that isn't true and genuine.
Yeah, we can't go into the details of the case for very obvious reasons. There's still things to be decided relating from that hearing. But she has been perhaps a little naive.
She has, and I think, you know, let's be honest, she's not a cuddly girl next door. She's a sort of urban sort of rock star, if anything. And I think, you know, she's admitted she has friends who maybe have some dubious connections. So to go out there and do newspaper interviews now and talk about poor me, I don't think that will get the public sympathy. I think she has to go back to doing what she's very good at, which is writing songs and making music.
Well, you say that because, of course, she would be tempted, I can imagine, to kind of, you know, lay it all bare and say, look, this is me, this is who I am, this is what my life is about. Do some big newspaper interview, perhaps to get the press back on her side. But is that something that you would advise against?
I would advise against it. I mean, I think you can understand why she wants to put the record straight. But I think the difficulty is you can't turn the tap on and off where you want it. You can't say, well, I'll talk about this, but I won't talk about that. And I think if you're going to do an interview, you've got to be transparent and open, and you've got to be prepared to bear all. And you know, certainly when I advise people, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that. I think if you want to be completely transparent, go ahead and do it. But most people have parts of their lives they want to keep to themselves, and if that's the case, go back and do the music. Look at somebody like Paul McCartney, who's been doing it 40 years. He hasn't called to the press. He'll talk around his music. He doesn't go out there doing, you know, long interviews about his private life. He really just gets on with his life and concentrate on what he's good at. What
are the ramifications of this case for the press, and in particular this kind of what you might call sting journalism, others would say a form of entrapment, frankly?
It's very difficult. I mean, it's got to be proportionate. You know, any time there's a sting. I mean, you know, certainly when I was editing, we had something like 100 people we jailed during my editorship, and it's got to be proportionate. You know, what you can't do is start offering people massive incentives, you know, to try and draw them into doing something. It's got to be proportionate, and I think that's the lesson to be learned here.
It's worth mentioning it's another Murdoch Empire newspaper as well.
It is, but, you know, I do think they've cleaned up their act. I do think, you know, the two editors there, OK, they weren't editing the newspaper when this particular story broke, but I think they've shown their colours. They've been very risk-averse and very careful. I think they have learnt the lessons from Leveson, and I think, I do think this is an isolated situation now.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, we'll talk to you a bit later on about that. That's 22 minutes past 6. Happy birthday, Prince George. He's 1 year old today.